Hi everyone, my name is Courtney. I write under the pen names Lyra Parish and I'm one half of the USA Today best-selling duo Kennedy Fox. And today I thought that I would kind of go over our co-writing process. This is a question that Brooke and I are asked so many times during live streams, behind the scenes people ask, she gets messages about it, and it's something that people are extremely interested in. So I thought that I would make a video and explain to you our process. In June of this year, we will have been writing together for 4 years. I know, it seems so crazy. We've published over 20 books together. I feel like we understand each other and our process flows very easily. First of all, when you co-write with someone, I think it's very important to say outlining is kind of necessary. I know that there are pantsters out there who are like, oh my god, I can't outline. I was that person. When I wrote by myself, I wasn't a massive outliner. I knew the beginning, I knew the middle, and I knew the end, and I would figure out the ways to get to those key points as I was writing. With co-writing, at least for us, that would be impossible because we write at the same exact time. Brooke may be working on these 4 chapters as I'm working on these other 4 chapters, so we are not waiting for each other to write, which is why we can release so many books. It starts with an idea. We typically have a title beforehand. Most of the time, we've got a blurb written before we have the book completely plotted out. So it starts with an idea. For example, the Bishop brothers came from these characters that we added into the Checkmate Duet series. And we were like, hey, people really like this character. We should just do an entire series of our brothers. She had 4 brothers, we had 4 books, and then we had to figure out what the tropes would be. We typically go into a book with a solid idea, a solid trope, and we write romance. So the end is going to have a happily ever after. Every one of our books, the couple ends up together. Spoiler alert. If they don't, I don't really consider that romance. We typically have a title, we will work out the blurb, and we know what trope we are going to write. It's very important for us to know the trope because there are key elements in specific romance tropes. For example, enemies to lovers. You know for a fact at the beginning of the book, the couple is going to hate each other, and then something's gonna happen, it's gonna bring them closer together, and then towards the end, they're gonna fall in love and they're gonna be together forever. We love enemies to lovers romance. It's one of our most written tropes. We also love second chance romances. You know, with a second chance romance, the main couple were together at some point in their life. They broke up and something happened where they were separated, and then they come back together, they fall in love again, and then they live happily ever after. So basically, our books are based on tropes. All of our books have specific tropes. Some of them have several tropes within them. Knowing what trope you are going to write is really going to allow you to better outline, because there are key things that happen in every trope that's out there. We go into it with, okay, this is the trope that this book is going to be. There are key points in every trope that we write. From there, we FaceTime or we call each other on the phone with Google Documents open, and we start the outlining process. Typically, Brooke has some sort of crazy idea that she dreamed up or was half asleep and rolled over and typed it in her phone, or took a long bath and came up with a 10-page outline for a book. I wish I was making this up. This is real life, guys. Then there's times when we're like, okay, well, we know that we've written a character like this in this book, and we know that he has these quirks. Let's make this book this trope. It just kind of starts with an idea, and it starts with a trope. We talk with each other on the phone or FaceTime or however we can get together. We lay out chapters. So typically our books we know are 24 chapters. Some books we have are 22 chapters, and a book that we are currently writing is going to be let's just go ahead and say 30 chapters. So we go with chapters in mind. We typically start at 24 chapters, and we know that at the end, they're gonna get together. We know at the end, there's gonna be an epilogue that goes forward in time so many months or years. All of our books have a specific type of, I won't say formula, but they are formulatic in a sense. I think most books are, and if you read this book right here, they will tell you that. It's not necessarily writing a book by a specific formula, but we write romance and you know what the ending is going to be. Depending on the trope, you pretty much know what the beginning is going to be. It's figuring out the small details, like why is the hero so broken? Why does the heroine not trust men? Why do X, Y, and Z? Things of that nature. And so what we do is we talk it out and we'll be like, okay, so for chapter 1, she arrives to this place. These things need to be mentioned. For chapter 2, we usually do dual point of view. So there's like a girl chapter, a guy chapter, and they alternate throughout every single book. We know that there has to be an introduction at the beginning. And so we talk about the things that need to be mentioned, where they're going, what's going to happen in these first 2 chapters. And then the couple meets, right? They see each other. And then that's when their stories start interconnecting together. And so we go through and we outline the entire book. Typically we know details of what's going to happen. We will use a bullet point method. We'll also put notes like, don't forget that this happened. Brooke is really good about if she's writing something and she changes one of the plot points, she'll be like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I couldn't add this into my chapter. Your chapters are coming up. It probably needs to be mentioned there. And so we just are constantly communicating with each other as we're writing if things change. I can look at an outline now and I can go, okay, I know that this entire book is going to go like this based on our outline. Because it is so detailed, I can write out of order and know that I've pretty much got the information that I need to make those chapters correct. We typically break up our chapters evenly. We assign them out. There's things that Brooke is really good at writing. For example, when it comes to childbirth and things that have to do with kids, because I don't have kids. I've never experienced birthing a child. I don't know really how appointments go and things like that. And she has a daughter, so she has that life experience to talk about. Someone is pregnant. I write stuff that does not happen. Sorry, but I'm not very aware of childbirth and how these things happen. When we're doing books where people are pregnant, typically Brooke is going to get assigned those chapters because she knows more about it, and it will just be easier if she just goes ahead and writes it, so then she will not have to mark up all of my horrible mistakes when it comes to doctor's appointments when you're pregnant. Another example is I live in Texas, born and raised. I grew up riding horses, was a 7-year-old saddling up horses, riding them around, grew up trail riding, doing stuff like that. I understand the country living life when it comes to kind of like ranch life. And so when we're writing Bishop Brothers and it comes to horseback riding or things that have to do with real ranch work, it's kind of like, okay, well, they're going to be working today, so I really need you to write those chapters because you know a little bit more about the Texas country ranch life. And I totally get it. It just makes it easier if we write chapters for things that we actually know and have life experience with. We used to, at the very beginning, assign chapters out like, you get 1 and 2, I'll get 3 and 4. Because we write in dual point of views, it was easier to get the girl and the guy's perspective and for you to have that one chunk. Over the years, we've discovered that sometimes you cannot move forward if you don't have those other 2 chapters before yours written, because they all kind of interconnect and flow together. And so what we've been doing the last few years is we have been assigning larger chunks. So for example, Brooke will maybe have chapters 1 through 6 and I'll have chapters 7 through 15, and then we'll split out the end chapters. And so we've been doing that. I'll write 2 huge chunks and she'll write 2 huge chunks. And I know a lot of people are like, but how do you know what they're writing? It's because we outline so detailed that you can read that outline and know that these key points are going to be hit in this chapter. We live and die by our outline. Sometimes we go off of outline, but then it's a conversation that, hey, this kind of had to change. So when you get to this part in your chapter, make sure that this is referenced instead of what we previously discussed. Our process, I find, to be very easy. A lot of people can't do it because they want to know it's written. What we'll do is if like she has the first half, the first 5 chapters or 6 chapters, and I have the next 6 chapters, and we're writing at the same time, we're typically done writing those 6 chapters at the same time. So for example, Brooke's got the first 6, and then she'll go and read my 6, and then she'll continue her chunk, and I'll go back and I'll read her beginning, knowing what I just wrote that came after that, and then we go and write the second half of the book. Once the book is finished, we read through it from beginning to end. And the reason for that is because we don't always know what the other person is writing before or after us, sometimes we have things that are repetitive because we don't know if those things are actually covered, but they're very important to the storyline. When we do our read-throughs, we're reading every line beginning to end. We are cutting out things that are repetitive, and it's been like that for every book. I don't think that there is a way to not write the repetitive stuff because of our process. Sometimes it's like, hey, we already know that he feels this way about this character, so we really don't need to say it right now. We are beating a dead horse. Does everybody say that analogy? Or is that just a Texas thing? The thing is that Brooke writes pretty clean. She will stay on a sentence for as long as it takes to get that sentence right. I, on the other hand, am a zero drafter. So I can write really fast and I can get my chapters done, but they take a lot more edits. I have tried to change my process. She has tried to change her process. And over the years, we've realized that neither one of us can change our process. This is just the way that we mechanically work, and we have to work together to make that work. What I do is I try to go back and reread my chapters and mark them up. I don't know if I mentioned this, but we do everything in Google Docs. It's easier for us to see what's going on a broad spectrum than to try to combine everything later. Once it's in Google Docs, we can both see it, we can both edit it down, we can both do suggestive changes, we can do tweaks on it, we can do whatever it is we need to do. But for me, I've got like left brain, right brain syndrome is what I call it. So I've got the very critical part of my brain and I've got the creative part of my brain. And so for me, when I am writing, I am 100% in creative mode. I'm not being super analytical when I'm writing. So I am just writing, I'm just creating. And then when it's time for edits, then I go into critical thinking mode and I try to look at the stuff that I've written with a more critical eye. I will mark up my chapters pretty hard. I'm not gonna lie. I'll rewrite things, I'll mark them up, I'll paste them, and still Brooke goes through and marks my chapters up like crazy, which is okay. It's totally okay because I do the same thing to her. We just do suggestive changes. We go through and we mark up suggestive changes and we accept them or deny them. We ask questions to each other like, what does this mean exactly? Because she's from the Midwest and I'm from the South and we have different types of sayings that we have. You know, there's those little things like that. What we do is we will mark up each other's chapters when we're in edits. Our self-edits are pretty strenuous. I'm not gonna lie. We take about 1 to 2 weeks to edit a book, and I would say that it goes through 5 rounds of us just going back and forth with each other over and over just to tweak things the way that we like. I'll go through the book, she goes behind me and marks it up, I go back behind her and mark it up, she goes back behind me and marks it up, and we do that process until there are no more changes. It can take a while, I'm not gonna lie, but that's how we make sure that our words mesh together. We will add different things to each other's chapters. We will delete things that have already been said. It just makes it where it flows together like it was written by one person. And it's funny because there are a lot of people who read our books who are like, how do y'all do this? How do your voices mesh together so easily? And I think it's because we kind of write the same already, but we also go through and add additional things to each other's chapters, tweak things, rearrange words, do things to where we both had our own passes on it. So then it's just all a cute little braid tightly knotted together and it flows. After we have gone through self-edits, which I said can take 2 weeks. I mean, we edited Baby Mine for about a month. We actually did pretty massive rewrites right before release, and sometimes it takes that. Sometimes we will write a book, we'll think it's complete, we'll send it to a beta reader and we're like, yeah, we missed the mark on something. And so we are not scared to go back and rewrite full chapters. We've done it. We've deleted full chapters in books before because it just wasn't working. Sometimes that's what it takes to make sure that you have a good product that will make your readers happy. And for me, I feel like when I do my self-edits, I do a better job when I don't directly jump straight into edits. I feel like if I write the book and I let it sit for 1 to 2 days and then I go into it with an editing mindset that I'm about to destroy this book, I'm about to mark this baby up. It's better for me if I take a short break, so then I can switch my mindset from creating to being critical. I found that when I rush, when I go straight from writing straight into edits, and I don't give myself that 1 day break, my edits are not as precise as they probably could be, which makes me go back through again and remark stuff up. So it takes it a little bit longer. I've learned that about myself probably within the last year, and more specifically with this last book we did. Thing is that Brooke and I have both been writing for a long time. I've been writing pretty much every day since 2011. I didn't publish till 2014, and then she's been writing since, I believe, 2012 or 2013. Brooke, correct me if I'm wrong. I know she's been published since 2013, so imagine she started writing in 2012. We have our own processes, and we wrote on our own before we got together, and so we both had different ways that we do things. And I think that we both have our strengths when it comes to writing. I think that we both complement each other in ways, and because we do go so hard in edits, and because we are not scared to be like, hey, this chapter sucked, or I don't really like that, or whatever the case is, we make the book better. It's not always easy to hear from somebody that you're working with that they don't like what you write. I mean, let's be honest, nobody wants to hear that. But you have to be able to think outside of yourself and put it to the side and be like, whatever is going to make this book the very best book that it can be, then that's what has to happen. And that's how I basically go toward everything that comes with us writing together. If this change is going to make the book better, then the change needs to happen. Regardless if I like it, if I thought it was fine, apparently it's not fine. It goes both ways. There are things that Brooke writes that I don't agree with, and there's things that I write that she doesn't agree with, or that I wasn't clear with, or things that she writes and I don't really understand. Having a co-writer or a writing partner means you have a built-in critique partner that has the same goal as you at the end of the day, and that is to produce and publish the best book that you possibly can. Sure, you can have a great critique partner, but they have no skin in the game. When Brooke and I publish, we split our royalties, so it has to be a very good product. Our covers have to be good, our blurbs have to be good, and the book has to be good. Our readers have a specific expectation, and we try to meet that every book that we release. It goes to edits, our editor goes through it. Brooke was doing one round, and then I was doing one round, then I got busy with my job and all the crap that's happened in my life, and then Brooke started doing both rounds of edits. Our process has kind of change when it comes to who takes care of edits, but when she goes through our edits from our editor, I 100% trust her to make the correct changes. If there's something that she doesn't know if should really be changed, we'll talk about it. Hey, our editor on this page changed this to this. Do you agree with that? And it's either a conversation of, no, I don't agree with that, I feel like it was better the way that we wrote it, or yeah, we should probably go ahead and change that. She's 100% right. And so we have those types of conversations when it goes through edits. Brooke will format it in vellum, and then we'll start sending out arcs to our readers. If anybody finds anything in our arcs, if we feel that it's a major issue, we will update the file before we actually put the final on all of the platforms that we're currently on. And that's basically our process. Some people are probably going to ask about the blurb. We do blurbs exactly the same way that we do our edits. We'll just go and mark that crap up until we're 100% satisfied with it. There are times when a blurb can take 4 hours to complete or an entire day to complete before we're happy with it. There are times when we get blurbs done in 30 minutes. It just kind of depends. And we use suggestive changes for everything. So we both know what the changes we want are, and we either accept or reject or have a conversation about it, or, you know, give our opinions of why we think that this is not really a good sentence, or, you know, why it's confusing, or whatever the case is. So yeah, that's our process. I just want to say this real quick. I love having a co-writer. Of course, there's pros and cons to everything, and co-writing is not for everyone, but I can say that for me personally, there are more pros to co-writing than there are cons. It's nice to have somebody that you can talk to about a book that you're working on any time of the day. It's nice to have somebody who wants our work to be just as successful as you do. You're on the same team. You never go through that whole writer's block thing, because if it comes a point where you're like, well, I don't really know what else to put in this chapter. I'll go read Brooke's chapter or she'll read mine, and then we'll talk it out. And then, oh, that's a great idea. Let me do that. There's never any type of writer's block. You get through it and you work together, and it's very nice to have somebody who's in your literary family, somebody who you're basically literary married to, who really genuinely cares and who works just as hard as you do. And I think that to me is one of the best things of having a co-writer. We can produce more books. We get to work together. We get to make a lot of money together. We get to celebrate together. When we're down, when things are not going so great, we get to complain to each other about it. And then we get to come up with a plan to make things better and to change our complete outlook on what we're doing. It's just nice to have that person who is there for you with your writing, who makes you a better writer, who makes you see things from a different perspective, because we're from two different places in the world, guys. If you didn't know, I'm 100% Southern. Like I said, born and raised Texas, and she's always lived in Wisconsin. We do have those things where I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never heard this. And same thing with her. She's like, what does this mean? I've never heard this saying before. We learn things, and I think that at the end of the day, we are better for it. People are always like, oh, are you ever gonna stop co-writing and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not. I'm not ever going to stop co-writing. Yeah, I may release under Lyra again, but my main squeeze is Kennedy Fox. And I've said that so many times. Based on our release schedule, that should be pretty much obvious, because I genuinely enjoy writing with Brooke. I genuinely enjoy having her as my writing partner. I genuinely enjoy it when we get to celebrate all of our successes together. Like, I love that. And I'm an extrovert. I am a people person. I like being with people and getting to experience all the things that we've gotten to experience together as Kennedy Fox. Like, I actually kind of feel bad for all of you people who don't have a co-writer, who don't have somebody that is there for you and your writing and your books. And, you know, I love my partnership. I'm just going to be completely honest, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And so if you are contemplating co-writing, I would say that it's important that you write with somebody that you trust, that is not going to screw you over. I would say to get a contract. Talk about the hard things, talk about money, talk about, you know, who's going to pay for what, how are you going to get paid back. And another pro tip that I would give you is you need to start an LLC. Do not put your co-writing books under someone else's KDP account. Kennedy Fox has an LLC, and everything that we do together runs under our LLC. There are no mixing of my personal stuff and her personal stuff with our business. Its own entity, and it stands alone, and we stand together with that. So yeah, I really hope that this was helpful. I apologize that it's so long. If you have any questions, or if something was not very clear that I covered, please ask the question below. I'll be happy to answer you. I know that this is a very highly requested video. When people ask me, I'm just gonna be like, here, check out this video. This is our writing process. It's gonna make it so much easier. Remember, stay well, guys. I'm thinking of everybody out there in the world right now. Things are just strange, but I'm happy that I can make YouTube videos and go live and be with y'all online as much as possible, because remember, extrovert right here. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you. I hope that you have an incredible week, you accomplish all your goals, and you write all the words. And I'll see you again in my next video. Bye!